What is up, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk about why you should train for motocross, and more importantly, how you should train for motocross. Let's get into it. Okay, so first and foremost, I want you guys to understand that this video is a tiny snapshot into my views on training. This video was designed to deliver this message as concisely as possible. So if you want to talk more about this topic with me, please feel free to reach out. Send me a direct message on Instagram. My handle is at Jacob_Pennisi. That's Pennisi, 2 N's, 2 I's. All right, or you can send me an email at japennisi@yahoo.com. When it comes to training for motocross, we need to get one thing very clear, and that is there is no replacement for riding. You can get as creative as you want in the gym, but nothing is going to perfectly replicate the demand of just getting some seat time. The gym side of a training program is meant to make that athlete as strong and fit as possible to complement the riding. If you're not riding and you're only working out in the gym, your program can be absolutely perfect, but you still only have half a training program. Think about it this way. If a basketball player walked up to you and said, "Hey, I need you to help make me a better basketball player," you wouldn't say, "Oh, well, you need a better lifting routine," right? You wouldn't point them in the direction of the nearest weight room. Why should it be any different from motocross? Now, with that being said, a good gym program that is designed to complement the riding is what separates the good from the best. Trust me, I understand better than anybody else. Training for motocross can feel overwhelming and super confusing at times. But if you break it down, it's just like any other sport. And just like any other sport, it all starts with a needs assessment. So what exactly is a needs assessment? Well, a needs assessment helps identify key elements of the sport to help make your training as specific and relevant as possible. So as we said, the main function of a needs assessment is to identify the characteristics of the sport. And the characteristics are generally broken down into 3 categories. That is 1, body and limb movement patterns, strength, power, hypertrophy, and muscular endurance priorities, and lastly, common sites for joint and muscle injury and the causative factors. So starting with body, limb, and movement pattern, motocross is full body, full time. There isn't a single second on a motocross track where you're not using your entire body. Cornering, jumping, rollers, braking, so on and so forth, right? We also see all of the fundamental body movements such as squats, hinges, push, pull, and bracing, what I call bracing. Some of you guys might know it by loaded carry. Bracing is really like creating full body tension to resist external forces. An example of this would be squeezing the bike so you don't just fall off the back. Okay, moving on to the adaptation priorities. For motocross, you need strength, power, and muscular endurance. However, out of these 3, we can definitely rule 2 of these to be the physiological priority, and those 2 are strength and muscular endurance. Now really, it's no secret that you need to be strong if you want to race motocross. The bike is super heavy and you're constantly resisting all these G-forces that can really take a toll on the body. But with motocross, it doesn't even stop there. You don't need to be able to produce a high level of force just 1 or 2 times, kind of like in competitive weightlifting. You need to be able to produce that force constantly for about between 15 to 20 minutes if you're an amateur, and between 35 to 40 minutes if you're a professional. And not only that, you likely will have multiple motos in the day, so you have to do that same effort again. If you were to count how many times you actually go from sitting to standing in a typical moto, it would absolutely blow your mind. That's like doing a mini squat. And if you do a mini squat for 20 minutes straight, you can bet you're gonna feel some crazy burn. But not only that, we also see heart rates in the range of 90 to 95% of maximum sustained capacity for almost the entire moto. Now, part of that heart rate can be explained by endocrine factors such as adrenaline and cortisol, but a large portion is directly related to how hard your body's working. So this clearly illustrates the need for a strong aerobic system and a strong anaerobic system achieved through cardio training. All right, quick little side explanation so we can make sure we're all on the same page with the whole aerobic, anaerobic type stuff. So aerobic means with oxygen, and anaerobic means without oxygen. Think about when you run up a set of stairs. You can sprint all the way up to the top and not be out of breath until you actually reach the top. That's because you're not relying on oxygen to keep producing energy as you go. That is anaerobic. However, if you were to continue climbing multiple flights of stairs, you really start to huff and puff because your anaerobic system can only last on its own for a short time before it starts relying on oxygen to keep producing that energy. The aerobic and anaerobic systems are both at work all the time, just in different ratios, which one's doing more than the other. So if we apply that to motocross, you're technically in an anaerobic heart rate zone, but for the duration of an aerobic workout. This combination makes motocross one of the most physically demanding sports out there. So one thing I didn't really talk about yet was hypertrophy. There is absolutely a time and a place where we want to build muscle mass, but only sport-specific muscle mass. What I mean by that is we only want to grow the muscles that we specifically need for motocross. What we don't want is to build other muscles that we don't really need for motocross. For example, as a motocross athlete, it doesn't really do us much good to have these big, huge biceps, right? We want to keep the muscle growth to sport-specific muscles that are most important for motocross riding. The only other time that it really does make sense to gain weight for motocross or to experience muscle growth is if you're literally just too light for the bike to handle properly for the suspension to function the way that it's supposed to. Okay, that brings us to our third and final aspect of the needs assessment, and that is common sites of joint and muscle injury and the causative factors. The only unfortunate side of our sport is that crashing is inevitable. Injuries are inevitable. To help kind of illustrate this point, I took a look at a study conducted in the UK in 2015. The study period was about 4 years, and during that time, 130 riders were sent to their trauma and orthopedic departments. A total of 142 injuries were recorded, ranging from 1 to 6 injuries per patient. So according to the study, the most common injuries in motocross are upper limb fractures, such as the clavicle and forearm bones, as well as lower limb long bone fractures, such as the femur and the tibia. So the causative factors of these injuries is usually blunt force trauma as the result of a high-speed crash, but there are some instances where someone simply dabbed their leg with improper body positioning, resulting into, a twist of the knee, or, the rut grabs the toe, twists their knee, and torn ACL, torn MCL, meniscus, so on and so forth. So we may not be able to prevent all crashes, but there are definitely some steps we can take to help prepare the body to withstand this trauma. For instance, our bones respond to strength training in a similar way that our muscles do. As the muscles are put under stress, they then stress the bone because the bone is their anchor point. When the bone is stressed, its density increases and therefore its strength increases. So the forearm bones, for instance, of someone who participates in regular resistance training is going to be much stronger than the forearm bones of somebody who doesn't. The same can be said for tendons and ligaments. The best way to strengthen tendons and ligaments is to load them heavily and move through the whole range of motion slowly. Precisely what's seen in resistance training. So after going through that needs assessment, I really hope that you guys can see a clear need for a training program that encompasses all of those elements. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. We know that motocross is a full body sport, requires strength, muscular endurance, a strong aerobic and anaerobic cardiovascular system, and strengthening your body to prevent injury is going to be key in having a long and successful career. So you not only need to know how to structure your training, but you need to be able to time when you peak and when you kind of back it down. If you try to train at maximum intensity year round, something's going to give. You're either going to get sick, injured, or maybe even you're going to burn out. So if you need help with any of that, if you or anybody you know needs help putting the science into your training, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. My goal is that with each video I put out, your vision for your training gets a little bit more clear. All right, guys, that'll pretty much do it for the video today. If you like what I'm doing here, or if motocross training is kind of your thing, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys next time.